Welcome to Access Training Lesson 6. In today's video, we're going to look at the form. So we're going to look at form properties. We're going to look at editing a form properties, including changing some of the form types that we have in there. We're going to look at form design, form arrange, and form format. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started by opening up the form that I created last time for our customer input table. And you're going to notice that we now have 10 records because we added the one. But where I'm going to start here is I'm going to drop this down and I'm going to go into design view. And when I get into design view, it's by default is going to have the property sheet over here. If the property sheet is not open, what you need to do is right click and go down to properties. Right down there, properties. Alright, and you're going to notice that we can also change our views here, can't we? The form view, the data view, but what we're going to do is we're going to come back here to form, and you're going to notice right up here the record source, and this is kind of an advance, but it tells you it's customer table. Alright, and here again, if I dropped it down, and it wouldn't make any sense, but I could go to loan table or state table, but like I said, it would not make any sense. Alright, so, and it gives us some of the other information, but if I drop this down, these are all the objects that are in the form. Okay, and just to give you an idea what's what, customer ID, and if I click on it, we'll highlight this box here. That's the customer ID, and that is a it's a text box. And if I go down to the one below it, which is customer ID label, that is the label box right there. So when you look at it, you get an idea of what the difference is, so that you know this is a label, this is the field. Let's go back to customer ID. And when we do that here, you're going to notice that in customer ID, remember label didn't have anything but the data. This is where it's pulling it from the database. Alright, now you can also look at the format view here. Alright, and this tells you all the possible formatting we can do for that. And if we look at the label, here again, you know, and this is all we'll take a look at today, not really in depth that much, but we get an idea. And if we click on all, it shows us everything at one time. Okay, so here again, a couple things I want to show you. Notice that this says customer-ID because that's the name we called it in the table, but for customer ID we changed it in the caption to customer ID. The one and we did that for all of them, right? First name, last name is first name, last name, space. Alright, and that's how it pulls this information. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to come over here to state, and state is a drop down. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on this field, and when I do it I can go to change to, and notice I got text box, combo box. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click combo box, and then when I go back to view, you're going to notice that I have a drop down here, and then I can pick that easier than scrolling down through. So we can then convert that to a drop down. Alright, let's go back into our design view, and that allows us to change a field or edit the field. Let's go ahead, and you'll notice that when I'm in the view here, this view, it brings up form design, arrange, and format. Alright, So we've been looking at form design, and this is where we can add extra fields into our form. So for example, what if we wanted to do date and time? So we click here and we can pick, see where it says include date, include time. It's going to look like that. If I tell it OK, it throws it right up here, and at that point and it should have threw it an auto date, auto time. So if I click on auto date, I could then drag it down to where I want it, and I can bring it right into this part of the form. And I can even drag this down more, just to give me a little bit more of a form. Alright, so that will put a date and time in my form, and as you're doing this, at any point you can go back and click and look at form view, and you'll see your date and time down there in the corner. And this is the area where you could insert other fields. You know, if you wanted an image, or you wanted a radio button for something, you want to do a clip attachment. So these are all areas that you can, and we'll look at some of these in other videos. Now let's look at arrange. Alright, and then in the arrange, and we don't have a lot, but I can click here, right, and maybe I have to be in form view. Alright, it's not activating anything, but if it did, we could change that to be a different type of view. There we go. I had to select them all, and then you can change to be, and you can see it really makes a terrible change right now. So what you want to do is just hit the undo. Okay, but it would allow you to change the way our form is set up. Alright, and that's what the arrange does. And it does some aligning and brings the front, sends the back, but we're not worried about any of that right now. So let's go to format. And in formatting, this is where we can change the font. Now remember, we have format here. And this is a little bit more of an in-depth looking format, but you can see font size, font name, alright. But we could do it from this same drop down over here and say I want to go the last name label, and that's what I highlighted. I wanted to change it to Arial, right? And I could do that one at a time, but if I take my mouse and I highlight, I can grab a whole section, change the format to Arial. Alright, here again I can then grab the whole section, everything, change everything to Arial. Alright, and change, and here, right here is the font color. So I drop that down. Maybe I want everything to be that blue right there. Maybe I want the input to be lighter blue, and maybe I want the label to be bold. Alright, so I'm able to change the format in here to customize the way I want my form to look. So that when I go, and I gotta go click back on home, and I look at the form view, you can see that I'm changing some of the settings in order for it to look the way I want it to look on the screen. Alright, so I was able to add a date and time, and here again, you know, I could put a title in there, I could put a logo. And when I right click anywhere, you notice that I have a form header footer, and I have those turned on. So now this is the footer. See how I pulled that down? So I could theoretically take the date and time, drag that to the footer, and bring that up. So when I view it, you're going to see that the date and time is all the way down to the bottom of the page. If I put it in the footer, if I leave it in the page, it'll bring it up here. I could put it in the title bar to put it over here. So you can move fields around. Okay, and if we go to design view, you can move these around. Now, notice that I have this cross here. When I do that, that extends this area here to give me more area that I want to do it in. So if I want to bring birthday down a little bit, and email down, alright, so that lets us move information down for whatever reason. I can then put a line. Alright, so I can put a line in there. Looking at the line, the width is 5.87. So if I go to format on my line, okay, I don't have a lot of options here, but over here I can change the width to be 6, and if it's solid, it's a hairline, and I can look through here and see if there's anything else that I want to do with the line. Alright, there's the border color. So there's different colors. There's light, dark. So I could pick a border color, and if I go back to home, you can see I have a line inserted in there. So I can fix my form the way I want to through the formatting or adding different elements to my form. Alright, this will be the end of video 6.